Now, let me call you our last panel. And you know that Change Now is about bringing together change makers. Well, here we are also, in this third edition, bringing together collectives of boards. Why? Because when you are a change maker, when you are a board member, you need one another. That's the reality when you drive change. You are individuals. And today, for the first time at Change Now, we gather board members from 25 different countries. So this is a huge numbers, and thank you for being in this room. You are more than 600 to be there. So I'm very honored to welcome on stage 3 leaders of those board collectives. So to start, I'm going to ask Karina Litvak, who is not only, of course, a board member, but the co-founder of the Climate Governance Initiative, now called also Chapter Zero. Welcome on stage, please, Karina. Sit wherever you want. You have the picture there. Welcome on stage, so everyone is coming. Céline Fornaro is Deputy CEO at Agence des Participations Françaises, which in English, it's the French government's shareholder agency. No, please sit in the middle. I will sit here. And board member of Air France and NG, like Marie-Claire that we just saw. And then last but not least, Denis Terrien is the chair of IFA, the French organization for board members that has been very active also in gathering many board members from France, but also with our partners, Ecoda. Thank you for being with us. So I'm going to ask you the first question, not about your opinion about the role of boards, because I think that we get that from previous session, but why collective of board matters? Why collective of boards matters? Why do you bring people together as board members?
Shall I start? Yeah. So basically, I think a collective for board members is actually really important because it enables to cover some of the suggestions that maybe other people mentioned in the other panels, such as share, learn. And to be more specific, it could be different types of networks, really. It's a forum. I know IFA has got one. We have our own one. It's composed of 250 board members. You also have some with the World Economic Forum. And it's a way for board members to exchange, keep an open mind.
How often do you meet?
So we have 2 annual big sessions where we would share and update our shareholder policy, for example, give updates on our companies. But also we have regular sessions, maybe once a quarter, on specific topics. Could be cyber.
Have an external speaker?
Yes,
or, okay.
Yes, and we have external speakers. But I think what is also important is that you cross-feed ideas, and it brings diversity, because this is where you have a lot of your board members that are different backgrounds, different experiences, and some of our board members are also executive management teams. And so that's where we also cross-feed that into our thinking as well, and the way we carry our dialogue
learning
with
from
the world.
one another. This is so true.
Well, one is not born a board member. It is like plumbing or baker. You have to become a board member. So there are a couple of ways to do it. One is to train yourself. INSEAD does it. And at IFA, we do a lot of training. Over 1,000 people are trained at IFA every year. But also it's an exchange with, as you would say, with other board members. And what is important to realize is that governance of a private company, of a public company, of an NGO, or of any organization is different. because you have different values that you're going to share, different stakeholders that you're to take care of.
So when you say, because the question is about the collective, so you bring people collectively on, like the board members of NGOs and then board members of...
Hence, this is exactly what we do at
Okay.
IFA. So not only we have over 4,000 board members, but they kind of meet with their own specificities. I'm a board member of an NGO, and I'm going to meet another 20 or 50 board members of NGOs and share with them the challenges that I have, and listening to them will help train me. I'm the board member of a startup and scale-up. I have very different challenges than of the listed company like Air France or NG. Hence, it's going to be good for me to share my experience and learn from the others. And what we do at IFA, with the 4,000 members, we have over 200 meetings a year with specific groups that meet and share their collective understanding of the challenges and how to deal with them.
Very specific, also collective and forums. That's another way to put it forward. And Karina, you have founded a movement. So why did you do so?
My story is a very selfish one, which was that there was no existing how-to manual that I could pick up or classes that I could attend to address the specific challenge that I was facing, which is how do you drive better climate governance in a board, particularly of a company. In my case, at the time, I was on the board of an oil major, and how do you drive transformation in a company that has a legacy that is 100%, connected to an obsolescing business? And so, not being able to find anybody or anything that I could learn
So you
from,
decided to
I
create
thought,
one.
yeah, let's create a collective initiative that I could then point to and say, guys, don't listen to me, listen to these people out there who are doing all this great stuff. So that's why.
And today you are in, your movement is in 60 countries, right?
72, yeah, 72.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just gathered yesterday
Yeah.
a lot of members. So interesting for us to hear more about the key takeaways from yesterday about how to move the needle in the boardroom,
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh gosh, well, the 2-minute version. First start, I think the most inspiring thing about yesterday is that we got people from Kazakhstan, Botswana, Singapore, Brazil, as well as, of course, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. It was extraordinary to get people who were exchanging from so far away, who never get an opportunity to meet, much less form friendships. And we discovered that we had the same values and the same anxieties, and we had an opportunity then to say, how do we confront this? And we learned a number of things. Some of the key takeaways were, more in the realm of sort of technical skills. We looked at audit and audit sort of methodologies and how to take account of climate drivers and impairment charges, things that are more technical.
Okay.
We looked at AI, but we also looked at soft skills. We looked at, what is it that drives people to be obstructionist or resistant in the boardroom to the change that we often as one single voice want to drive.
So is there something that you can share? Because here there are many leaders that are change makers.
Yeah.
So what does it take to drive the change? Maybe what does it take to be resilient? Maybe helpful for everyone.
Well, so it's interesting. One of the workshops I went into yesterday was specifically about overcoming resistance, and it's interesting that we all came in with the same question, which was, how do I craft more persuasive arguments? How do I reach people on a rational level to win the argument? And in fact, what we learned is that ultimately, it's how you connect with people on an emotional level. And nobody will admit that. But it's how you touch them in their sense of status, autonomy, as in how much control they have, their sense of belonging. Like, do they feel that you're threatening their sense of belonging to this group? All things that are very, very soft and very uncomfortable to discuss, 2 people got up and left.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting one. I think that mindset matters, but we also need to go beyond mindset. And maybe, Céline, you can share what you have put in place a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, about how do you help the company where you invest in to move the needle.
Yes, and I think it's a slightly different perspective maybe to some other people that participate in panels, as we are a very a very long-term shareholder as the French government in our corporates, which are 85 corporates from very big international top CAC 40 entities. I'm also at the board of Safran, for example, or Orange, to very small service companies, radio, French companies. And there is no one-size-fits-all. And we need to deal with this and share, I would say, our vision.
But you get guidelines for everyone, right, on this topic?
Yes. And the thing that is important is that we need to define a policy and a framework that basically gives us great foundation but remains agile, so can weather crisis, as we've seen, or volatility or volatile times. And when you look at our policy, basically it's got 3 key pillars, which I think a lot of companies can refer to. The first one is performance, the second one is resilience, and the third one is sustainability. And with these 3 key pillars which drive our vision, really, you can talk from financial performance to sustainability performance, diversity, resilience.
And what did you put in, because I think that those are interesting for everyone in the room. In terms of sustainability, you did move the needle.
Yes, we try. And the way we do that is, for example, for listed companies, we have the minimum requirements of the Code AFEP-MEDEF. But we also like our companies to be ambitious, so we push them a little bit harder, and especially on some diversity targets or climate targets. We have some of the few CEO female leaders of the CAC 40 or the SBF 120. Yeah. We also have brought in diverse culture in management teams.
Okay.
So that I think is quite important.
So you still stand in this current context for diversity and the leadership team?
Yeah, absolutely.
More than ever.
I think we're here for the long term. And as Paul was saying at the beginning, for us it's really important to ensure the long-term viability of the company through different challenges. And we're here to provide this stability. But what is also important is how you bring people with you. Mm-hmm. That's where you need the collective. That's where you need to refer to your policy. Keep it, agile.
So your policy, what are the key dimensions that you have?
Yeah, so as I said, performance, resilience, and sustainability.
And in sustainability, what are the KPIs or the commitment that you expect every company to move forward?
Yeah, so in terms of KPIs, we wouldn't have a one-size-fits-all. It would be done at the corporate level. Okay. But you can see that we're now moving into carbon quantified targets, for example, in our executive compensations when there's a variable and mid and long-term targets.
Yeah, I think that you did implement in every single one of your participation, right? Having the executive incentive linked to those targets.
Absolutely, and there's also, of course, diversity, financial performance, and you will see that some of our large companies have actually increased the needle and the focus on that. We've just had all the, AGMs or new compensations schemes released. So I'm sure everybody can that. We're very proud of this. Yeah, absolutely.
You can be. And Denis, in this way that, driving change in the boardroom, we have discussed, what it takes from a personality perspective, from guidance perspective. Any obstacles that you feel are happening in the boardroom that you consider?
I think in the boardroom there are 2 elements. One is compliance. There are elements you have to do, you have to make some decision or approve, like the accounts. However, good compliance will not bring success. It may avoid failure, and not always, but it will not bring success. What will bring success of a company is a very well-aligned governance. in
What do you
terms
call
of
an aligned
very well,
governance?
governance is a couple of elements. A vote on the strategy, approve the strategy and the budget. Ensure that the CEO, he or she can drive the budget and the strategy and she's well remunerated. Look at the risk and the opportunities and communicate. If those elements are well defined and well structured, this is the first step. The second step, as was shared, it's not what you know, but how you make a decision. It's more on the behavior you have on a boardroom. What we advise all our board members is after they're trained to have the courage to take, share their opinion on the board. We are talking about, how it is important to be collegial. The board is not one person deciding, it's the whole group. They decide as a group. However, for a good decision, not only you need diversity, which we talked earlier, but you also need people to have the courage to go with their own conviction, which is based on experience.
And how do you see the role of the chairwoman or the chairman?
The role of chairwoman as a chairperson is to help the dialogue between the different board members.
And in a scale of 1 to 10...
And what's interesting...
I want to ask you a question. In a scale of 1 to 10, Denis, how today you believe, for instance, in France, in the listed company, how much the chairperson is playing that role of opening up the dialogue, making sure. Scale of 1 to 10. 10, perfect. 1, not so well.
I think it has improved substantially. What we can see in companies is it is not because you have a good governance that you always have success. However, when you have a failure, you always have challenges in governance. Even some state-owned companies like Renault have some challenges in governance that leads to challenges in the companies. Other companies as well. So look at the companies that have fundamental challenges. You go back, there is not a proper governance. Then the role of the chair is ensure that all the topics are discussed. This is good compliance. That also he or she leaves the discussion within the room and ensure a decision is made.
Yes.
And sometimes it happens, I've been chairman of a company, I'm actually even chairman of a company today. Sometimes we do not have enough element to make the appropriate decision, and that's okay. Let's have the courage to say, we cannot make the decision, this board. If ever it's not business critical, let's lay it to the next board so that we'll have an informed decision made by the board.
Thank you so much. I fully agree with you. And maybe one last question to you, as it's all about leadership. So I'm going to ask you, from your perspective and your experience and your movements, what does it take as a leader to be a board member for better futures?
Well, you asked that question earlier, didn't you?
No,
right?
What is the one thing that
one thing,
you believe
yeah.
is... Yeah.
And we heard resilience, and we heard... and
yes, I heard the previous part.
Right.
That's correct, yeah.
And
I love this question.
I love this question too. And the one I was desperate to hear, and we didn't hear, so I'm going to say it, is principle. Because you can always find staff who are going to deal with operational resilience, who are going to deal with technical expertise, who are going to deal with, the execution. But we in the board, if we do not act on the basis of principle, then honestly, how is that leadership going to flow through into the company? And it goes back to what Paul was saying earlier.
Thank
we
you.
have to have the courage of our convictions and the courage to care for that empty chair or those 3 empty chairs.
Thank you.
I'd probably say dare to be ambitious, not to be complacent. I think this is really important. The board provides this stability, long-term vision, and so you can't be complacent.
Merci, Céline.
If you allow, I will say 3 with 3 C's. The first is the curiosity. Curiosity to continue to learn about the world. Today there's AI. Yesterday was ESG, which was due for somebody. Who knows what the challenge is going to be, in 5 to 10 years. So you always need to be curious. The second is to have the courage. We talked about that. to have the courage to share what you believe in. And the last one is to be creative. Without creativity, one will not create value.
You know what, I usually say the 3C, and you probably know that. Courage, curious, and contagious. This is why you're here. Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to every one of you. So this morning comes to an end, and I just want to say, I'm going to ask all the speakers to come back on stage for the picture, every single speaker. But in the meantime, I just want to give you one word, is that in this specific moment, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot choose both. So make your choice.